everybody, welcome back to Jessica's Reading Room. My name is Kim and we are here for the September wrap-up video. Now I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure September was a super weird month. It kind of dragged all over the place, and honestly, is it awful that September was kind of forgettable for me? Like in a weird kind of way? Did I have jury duty in September? Because I know I had jury duty and it was horrible. But I don't remember if it was September or not. Though I do, oh yeah, except last week, pretty sure I got temporarily blocked on Instagram. I do remember that. I got blocked for using a service to gain likes and followers, which I did not do, FYI, and yet Instagram temporarily blocked me for a week. Yeah, so that was horrible, and I complained about it the whole time, and I should probably apologize for complaining about it as much as I did for all of you poor people who are friends with me on Facebook, because you got a lot of it, and I'm very sorry. Yeah. Anyway, so, I don't know about you guys, but September has just been... I don't even know. I mean, we also had Hurricane Dorian come through. At least it came through here in eastern North Carolina. And yeah, thankfully that was not as bad as Hurricane Florence. Because if you remember Florence, yeah, that was a year ago, almost exactly a year ago from Hurricane Dorian. And we were out of power for an entire week. And so we all like panicked because we were expecting another Florence. But then thankfully Hurricane Dorian wasn't like anything. I ended up evacuating over to my parents' house like an hour away. And what's hilarious is that my parents lost power and our house didn't. So I don't even know. Like I said, it's been a really weird month. I don't know what's happening. It's just the way it is. I don't even know. So anyway, let's just get straight into what Kim read in the month of September. Weirdo month that it was. Let's talk about what Kim read, shall we? Okay, so let's start out with The House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. Now, this is an absolutely fabulous cover. Oh, I love it. And it's raised, like the letters are raised. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so I saw this. Actually, one of my friends in the neighborhood got the Owl Crate box, and she ended up getting this in her box, and I remember looking at it and I was like, wow, that's actually really cool looking. Oh wait, was it this one? Maybe it wasn't this one. Oh yeah, it was. It was this one. It was just after I had already read it. I'm thinking Sorcery of Thorns. My bad. See, this is a sad way to start out this video this month, right? I told you it's weird. I told you, okay? So you can't, I told you. Anyway, she did end up getting this in this month's Owl Crate box, but I already bought it, and it's that story just went, I don't even know where it went. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. I told you it was weird. Okay. Anyway, I'd seen this book around. I loved the cover. I decided to read the description, and it sounded really, really cool, so I decided to buy it. Basically, let me make sure I'm getting all my names correctly. Annalee and her family are the ruling family on this ocean country of a fictional land. Okay, I'm sorry. There are a lot of names that I can't quite remember, so I don't know. Anyway, it's a fictional land. They are a sea people. They are the people of the salt. And basically their entire lives revolve around the ocean. Now, the sad thing is that Annalee's family is actually considered to be cursed. First, it started with her mother. Her mother passed away, giving birth to her youngest sisters. Then, I believe it's been every year since, her older sisters started dropping like flies. Just as soon as one starts to grow up, looks like she's going to inherit this duchy, because I believe their father is a duke, so it would be a duchy. She dies in some mysterious way, and it ranges from drowning in the bathtub to dying of a sickness to falling off of a cliff. And basically what's going on is Annalee is just kind of looking like, well, I don't want any more of my sisters to die. She actually thinks that she starts seeing her sister's ghosts walking around. A lot of really weird stuff happens with the family. And what's really weird is that I can't actually talk too much about it simply because I don't want to give anything away, because it's kind of a really random story. Like, I'm sure there's a myth somewhere that this is based on, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't recognize it, which is part of why I liked it so much, is that it was actually a refreshing original story. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, the ending to me was like so random, and I was like, okay, all right, I got it. Let's go with this. And so overall, it was a really good book. I really liked it. I mean, it could have been a little more scary for me, but considering the fact that it's not technically horror, I was good with it. So excellent, excellent read. Way to go. And gorgeous cover. Ta-da! Okay. Then we have The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Yes, isn't this the cutest little pamphlet? It was like $2 off of Amazon, and it's literally just the lottery and a bunch of discussion questions. Actually, I think there are more discussion questions, and I mean, look, developing word power. Exercise A. Each of the following vocabulary words appears in a sentence taken from the story. Read the sentence and then choose the correct meaning. So I should go back and do these because that looks like fun. Is that weird? Yeah, I know. I'm okay with that. Anyway, so Jessica and I decided to go ahead and both get a copy of The Lottery, and we have a double review coming out very, very soon. I read The Lottery all the way back when I was in school. My mom is absolutely terrified of this story. I don't get it. But anytime you bring up Shirley Jackson, she automatically goes to The Lottery and she automatically gets freaked out about what a scary story this is. Now, it's very typical Shirley Jackson, and that's what I really like about it. And what's interesting, and this is okay, let me rephrase. It's not actually typical Shirley Jackson because she does this thing where everything seems fine. Because at least in her other books, you know, you get this sense of foreboding, like, oh, you know, something bad is going to happen. Well, not with The Lottery. The Lottery, you just think everything is fine until all of a sudden you hit the end and you're like, ooh, well, that escalated quickly. So it's not typical Shirley Jackson. It's just kind of classic Shirley Jackson, if that makes any kind of sense at all. But anyway, I love this short story. I would probably save it for like high school kids just because it does get a little, and you know, it would be kind of hard to explain to younger kids. But I mean, then again, I'm also the weird person who would probably let my younger kids read this. I don't know. It's just, I'm weird like that. See, we say that every time and it just becomes truer every single time. I know. Anyway, so The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. Okay, next we have Here There Are Monsters by Amalinda Berube. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced your name. That is not my intention. Okay, anyway, so this cover is also fabulous. This is one of those where I totally was attracted to the cover, read the description, found it interesting, decided to read it, and I'm not gonna lie to you, this is another one of those books where I'm not sure I got it. You guys know how I am, how I'll read a book and there are times when I don't get it. And the thing is that it's kind of open-ended when it comes to the interpretation, as in like the way I interpreted it may not be how someone else would interpret it, but yet my interpretation is still relatively valid, if that makes any kind of sense at all. It did make me think, and apparently that's what the author wanted, because I posted on Twitter that I had finished it, and I said something like, you know, I think I understood this, and she wrote back and she's like, it's my goal to make people think. So I was like, okay, it made me think, so I must have done something correct. So there you go. Basically, Skye and her family moved to this brand spanking new town, and her younger sister has a really hard time adjusting, and she ends up going missing. And basically the entire book is Skye trying to find her sister, trying to figure out what exactly is going on when she starts seeing weird figures in the woods. And it was, I mean, I'll give it to you, it was a little scary. I mean, these figures, they're made of bone and robes, and they're kind of creepy, and I'm just like, okay. Whew, okay, all right. So it was chilling. You know, it was chilling. But I mean, like I said, I think I got it. I think, but I'm not entirely sure, which, I mean, and you guys know me that I have a hard time with not getting stuff, so that kind of brought me down just a little bit. Just a little. But I mean, come on, you can't, this cover is so gorgeous and I love it so much. But yes, no, this is a good book. I enjoyed it. I would love it if somebody else decided to read it and then gave me your opinion, because that would be really nice. Ooh, maybe we'll use this for group reading next year. Oh, good idea. Yeah, we'll see if this group reading thing works. We're kind of in the middle of it right now, so let's see. There you go. Okay, all right. So Here There Are Monsters by Amalinda Berube. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was fascinating, and I think I got it. So it's pretty much all I can say. There you go. All right, next we have Slasher Crasher by David Nora. This is so random. Honestly, this is like the most random book introduction that I've had like all year, because I was looking through Instagram and I looked at the hashtag horror fiction because I was like, I'm always looking for good horror fiction. Why not? I saw this cover. It fascinated me. Then I read the description, and basically this crazy psychotic teen breaks out of a psychiatric institution. And you know me, as soon as I saw a psychiatric institution, I knew I had to buy it. What's sad is that there isn't much about the psychiatric institution. I was like, grr. I wanted to know more about that because you guys know how I am with hospitals, especially psych hospitals. So, yeah. Anyway, so basically, I wrote to the author and I said, okay, you know what? This sounds good. I'm going to go ahead and buy it. And I got it. And I have to say, it was like hilarious and serious and crazy, all wrapped up in one book. Okay, so basically what I'm going to say is, if you liked the campy 80s horror, the Halloweens and the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Streets and I don't even know what's another campy 80s. This is really awful because I've never officially seen Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th. I did see Freddy vs. Jason, which was stupid. So I'm sorry if there are any Freddy vs. Jason fans out there, because I thought it was really dumb. And I think that's what I mean. Like campy 80s where you're really just having a good time. Anyway, basically that's what this book was. Because I mean, when I watched Halloween for the first time, I was just kind of sitting there like, really? This is horror? And Ivan's like, no, you can't look at this as like serious horror. It's campy 80s horror. And I was like, oh, okay. So basically that's what this book is. It was entertaining. There was enough in it to where those horror fans are going to really enjoy it, but yet it's light-hearted enough to where other, non-horror fans are going to enjoy it. I mean, and like I said in my review, which is coming out in October, because this is technically one of those like creepy October type things, and October is going to be filled with all of our reviews about the creepy stuff. Basically, it's just kind of a book of extremes. And that's what I found really interesting about it, was because Nora does not do anything halfway. I mean, the disgusting friend who farts and swears, yeah, she literally farts and swears everywhere. The teen who breaks out of the psychiatric hospital and goes on a killing rampage, yeah, he takes pleasure in his kills, and believe me, we are told all about it. So if you like campy 80s horror, I promise you are going to love this book. I found it very entertaining. There were a couple of places where I was like, okay, we need to speed this up and get this moving and let's go. But still, it was entertaining. I thoroughly enjoyed reading it. And if you're looking for a fun indie author to read, then you should definitely get Slasher Crasher. It was a lot of fun. I did enjoy reading it. And if you want to like kind of sort of get into horror, but yet not be totally freaked out, this is a good one to do. And it's a really pretty cover too. Look at that. I mean, it's creepy with the finger, that's because, that's how we roll here at Jessica's Reading Room, with the weirdo stuff. Okay. Next we have The Virtue of Sin by Shannon Shurin. Okay. So I haven't written the review on this yet because I'm still pondering it and I don't want to ruin it, but I'm just going to kind of give you a little sneak peek of what I'm going to say in the review. And basically that is that I was actually really disappointed in this read. I did give it 3 stars because the mystery itself held me fascinated. I wasn't exactly sure how it was all going to end, and considering that I read both The Sacred Lies of Minna Bly and After the Fire, which were kind of sort of the same story, this one actually was a break from your typical religious cult story, which I did find fascinating. However, what I also didn't like is the fact that it felt like the author took all of the propaganda that she has ever heard about religious cults, about Christianity, about toxic masculinity, and just made something up. I mean, it honestly sounds like, it feels like she sat down with one of those third wave feminists who think all men are horrible, who thinks all Christians are horrible, who never spent a day in church in her life. And then she sat down and she wrote this book. And that's just the thing, is that it just, I mean, and I'll give you an example. Like I said, I'm not going to give my entire review, but I am going to go ahead and give an example. I mean, for instance, all the children born in this cult are all given biblical names. There's, of course, I'm not going to actually remember anything. You know, there's Miriam, there's Caleb, there's Rachel. But then out of nowhere, there's a Delilah. And that's like going to a Presbyterian church and having a little girl and naming her Jezebel. And I'm like, see, that's the kind of little things where those of us who grew up in church are gonna notice, and it's just going to kind of ruin the whole atmosphere, because this lady did not grow up in church. This lady, honestly, she has no idea what real Christianity is. And so she just took all of this propaganda and turned it into this book, and it suffered for it. And it's really, really sad, because I wanted to, because I mean, you guys know I love a good cult story, and it's really, really sad, because it was those kind of little details that just, it ruined it. I mean, and I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, the actual story, the actual mystery itself was really good. It was just all those little elements that she threw in that just kind of ruined, there was no realism to it. And that really disappointed me. And again, I'll talk about it more in my review. Hopefully I didn't give too much away, but knowing me, I did. But there is also a really pretty cover. So The Virtue of Sin with these pretty butterflies. There you go. So see, silver lining. Yay. All right. Next, we have Rowan Off by Nadine Brandes. Another fabulous cover. We are on a roll with the covers this year. Yes. This was actually my neighborhood book club's book pick of the month. And so we decided to read it. And we all had a really good time. We all met last week and had a lot of fun discussing it. And there's some really nice people in my neighborhood who joined the book club. Woohoo! But actually, this is the second book that I have tried to read by Nadine Brandes, and this is the first one that I actually finished, because the review, I believe, is already posted, so I'm not going to be giving too much away. But basically, Brandes has this problem of writing about stuff assuming that you already know things, and I feel like there's supposed to be a prerequisite to reading her books. Like, it feels like you're always coming in on book 2 when you're supposed to have already read book 1. And if you didn't read book 1, then you're not going to understand book 2. Thankfully, this one was not as bad as Fox. I had to put Fox down because I didn't understand anything that was going on. Thankfully, this one was not the case, because, I mean, for crying out loud, you guys know I'm a Romanov geek. I'm a Russian nerd. I absolutely love the story of the last Romanovs. I've done tons of research on it. That's just kind of how I am. And so I was able to actually understand most of this story without too much, without too many problems. There was a little bit of slowness, but that kind of wasn't really Brandes' fault. It was more, she was trying to be historically accurate, and when in the last months of the lives of the Romanovs, literally nothing happened. They were stuck in a house for months, and so they were bored. So it was just kind of like, do you keep with the historical accuracy, or do you try and make the story more interesting? And thankfully, again, that did not ruin the story. I really liked the characterizations of Anastasia, of Alexei, of the sisters. And I really like this book. It was a really good book. I mean, it obviously is not entirely historically accurate, but it's also one of those where I would love it if she wrote a sequel. If she wrote a sequel so we could learn more about, the magical culture of Russia and the, and the magicians and everything, then I would totally pick it up and I would totally read it. So this was a really good book. I really liked it, and it's gorgeous. And look, it shimmers. See? Oh, so pretty. Okay. All right, next we have The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Sepetys. Oh gosh, get lipstick on the book. Sepetys? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your name. Anyway, she also wrote Between Shades of Grey and The Big Easy, and when I found this Wait, is there another book she read, or were those the only 2 that she wrote? Having a brain fart. Okay, I don't know. Anyways, so funny story about this book. See, this book was not released until October 1st. And oh my gosh, I'm actually filming this on October 1st. What? Yes, I actually managed to get a copy, and get this, at the bookstore because they put it out too early. That's the second time that has happened. It happened once with Serafina, the new Serafina book, and then it happened with this. And I'm not going to tell which bookstore it is either because I don't want to get them in trouble, but I keep showing up at that bookstore so I can see if anything has been put out early. I know. I'm awful. And Ivan told me, he's like, you're like a gambler. You're like addicted. Now, it's happened to you a couple of times and now you're always looking for it. And I was like, well, yeah, duh. So I got to read this book before it was released, and I'm so glad I did. It was really, really good, but it fell into the same trap that all of her other books did. She cuts the story off before I get all the information, and I want to know more. Really hate it when authors do that to me. You guys, that I've gotten frustrated about this before, and it keeps happening, and I swear, all of you authors, you better quit doing this because you're driving me nuts. Anyway, so this takes place in 1950s, right? 50s? Yes, 1957, Madrid, Spain. After World War II, while Francisco Franco is in charge of the country, he is a major, major fascist dictator who actually was not really involved in World War II at all. He was not deposed until he died. He actually died while still in power, and unfortunately, aside, concentration camps aside, he actually did the same kind of things as Hitler, as Stalin, and as Mussolini. I mean, he was a fascist government. People disappeared in the night. You were picked up off the street for doing who knows what. You had to watch what you said, etc., etc. And I have to say, I really liked how she didn't sugarcoat that. It wasn't, it wasn't trying to, what word am I looking? Glamorize, the fascist government. It was the nitty gritty. This is how the people lived. They didn't get the ice that the Americans staying at the hotel did. The Americans could have ice anytime they wanted to, but ice out in, in regular normal people Madrid, it didn't really happen. And basically this entire story is centered around an American heir to a oil company, a Spanish girl whose parents were killed as part of the resistance back in the revolution, and then this orphanage that was kind of doing some shady things under the table. And unfortunately, I wish I could say that the story, I learned more about the orphanage. I figured, we all figured out what exactly happened. It was all resolved. Problem was, it wasn't. And that's what drives me nuts, because I wanted it all to be resolved and I wanted to learn more. And what did she do? She cut it off right when it was getting good. And I was just, You remember how in Crazy House by James Patterson, I wanted to throw the book across the room and throw it against a wall? Yeah, that's how I felt reading this book. So thanks for that. Thanks for all that extra stress, Ruda. Thanks a lot. And what sucks is the fact that I want to know more. There are some books that cut off the story and I'm like, oh gosh, thank goodness it's over. Yeah, not with her books. That's the problem. She writes these excellent stories and she cuts them off, and I want to know more, and then she never gives us any more. So yeah, so that was really sucky, Ruda. Thanks for that. Anyway, so The Fountains of Silence, definitely a great book to read. Honestly, I really did enjoy it, except for the ending and the lack of information and the lack of resolution. So thank you very much. Boom. All right, so then we have, and I got this in the mail. Had no idea it was coming until I opened the package, and then I fell in love. It is The Envious Siblings and Other Morbid Nursery Rhymes by Landis Blair. Oh my gosh. And when we say morbid nursery rhymes, holy crap. Ivan and I had way too much fun reading this book, okay? I mean, we are talking, basically, The Envious Siblings is them dismembering each other. Yeah. I mean, look. See? Because Abby envied Angie's eye, plucked it out, and bounced it high. So we're talking about dark and macabre, and I loved it. Oh my gosh. Honestly, I'm going to keep this book because when I have kids, I'm not going to be reading them the Brothers Grimm. I'm going to be reading them Landis Blair, because he's my new hero, and I loved it. And I mean, there's not really much to say because it's literally a book of nursery rhymes, but they're dark and they're macabre, and I loved it, and it was fantastic. So honestly, as soon as this book is published, which I believe is next month, everybody should get it and everybody should read it because it's awesome. Boom. Okay. Oh, and I don't know if last month I actually said it, so I'll just include it in this month's wrap up, and that is We Have Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson. I don't have a book to hold up because it was an audiobook, and I'm getting a faint sense of deja vu. Did I already talk about this? Okay, I don't know. Okay, just in case I didn't, I'll talk about it really fast. We've Always Lived in the Castle. It was an audiobook by Shirley Jackson. It's one of her stories where that one is very typical Shirley Jackson, where you sit there and you're literally uncomfortable almost the entire time. And the horror element is so subtle that the entire story, you keep trying to figure it out. Honestly, the entire story, I kept trying to figure out what developmental disability that Mary Cat had. You know, that's just kind of the way it is. And, you know, there are some portions where you get so super angry about stuff, but then there are other places where you start like shifting in your seat because it's just really uncomfortable and really awkward. And that's just how Shirley Jackson is. And it's not like, boom, horror. It's very subtle. And, you know, a lot of it is very, you know, it's very implied, and your imagination then does all the work for you. And it's an awesome book, though. Don't get me wrong. Everybody should read it. It's just, honestly, there were portions for me that were more intense than The Haunting of Hill House, which I didn't think I was going to say, but it's true. And that discomforture, it just, I mean, honestly, there were times when I was driving, listening to this book, and I'm going, holy crap, girl, what the hell? Whoa. So you thought Haunting of Hill House was brilliant? Try reading We Have Always Lived in the Castle. Definitely worth it. Awesome. Okay. There you go. So then we have, oh, hold on. Let me get them all picked up. We have Me Before You and After You by Jojo Moyes. The book jacket does weird things. I have actually already read these books. However, I have not read the third book, Still Me. So I decided I was going to go back and read the series again. And I am currently working on Still Me. Hopefully we'll get that done very, very soon. But I already knew it was going to happen, and guess what? It did happen. I read Me Before You, and like the entire last quarter of the book, I sat there and bawled my eyes out. It happened the first time I read it, and it happened the second time I read it. And I just finished watching the movie, so I can do a book to movie comparison video. Yeah, cried through the movie too. Takes my heart, rip it out, and step on it. Why don't you? Gosh. Anyway, then I read After You also by Jojo Moyes. Whew, redundant. And actually, I liked it better in the second reading than I did the first one. So, okay, it's not as good as the first one, but I mean, what series are you ever going to read where the second book is as good as the first book? I don't know. And I have this feeling that Still Me is also not going to be as good as the first book because it's just a series. However, it does not change the fact that Moyes, she's like the queen of emotions. I mean, all of her books are like this, and that you sit there and you consider things that you never considered before, and before you know it, you're all misty. Okay, not true, because in Me Before You, I wasn't misty. I was full on ugly crying. But other ones like 1+1, yeah, all misty. After You, all misty. So if you're feeling melancholy, this is definitely the series to read. Oh, yeah. Yeah, melancholy reading did absolutely. Whoo boy. So yeah, I mean, it's for those of you who have never read Me Before You, basically this is the story of Louisa Clark. In the first book, she becomes caregiver to Will Trainer, a paraplegic who is considering assisted suicide because he does not like living with his disability. I would tell you about After You, but I think the title kind of already sort of gives it away, but I don't want to give away all of the story, so I won't tell you too much about it, but totally worth reading. Honestly, I love this series so much. Oh my gosh. So there you go. And Still Me, I am currently reading it, so we're going to find out how the story ends, and I'm really excited. Okay. All right, so there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if we count the audiobook, I read 11 books this month. Sweetness. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so least favorite and most favorite. Okay, unfortunately, I'm going to have to say least favorite is Virtue of Sin for reasons that I said. There were just a lot of elements that just kept me from really loving this book. It just got more annoying than anything else, which is really sad because I wanted to enjoy it. And I won't say much because I haven't written the review yet, but I'm going to write it and then post it, and then you guys will see what I'm talking about. There you go. All right, so that's least favorite and most favorite. Well, I can't pick Me Before You because I've already read that, and the rule is that you can't do that. Dang it. Okay. I think I will say that it is House of Salt and Sorrow was my favorite. It was just really imaginative. She created this world that all I wanted was to go and find wherever this world is and go live there because it sounded really, really cool. Plus this cover is gorgeous. So there you go. This was a tough one. I have to say, dang, that was a tough month trying to decide which one was best favorite versus least favorite. I'm sorry, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. It's just been a weird week. And it's only Tuesday. I know. All right, so there we go. There's the month of September. We have also already started our group reading with The Institute by Stephen King, so make sure you look into that as well. And I want to hear what you guys read in the month of September. Give me your least favorites and most favorites. And there you go. So I will see you guys in the month of October for the wrap up then. Have a happy Halloween, everybody. Woo-hoo. Hopefully the temperature is going to start dropping. Not so much here because it's still in the 90s. But apparently there's a cold front coming through. So it's time for fall stuff. And then we're going to get into Thanksgiving stuff. And then we're going to get into Christmas. And it's going to be awesome. And end of hurricane season here in Eastern North Carolina. Okay. All right. So there you go. Make sure you tell us what you are reading. Keep in touch. And everybody have an awesome October. Bye.